again to all of our loyal listeners. My name is Priscilla.
And I'm Yessie.
And welcome to another episode of
Nina's Hangout.
Yay! So, I want to start by highlighting that our podcast has reached its 15th episode. In true Latino fashion, we're calling it Our Quinceañera. Our Quinceañera episode. Just like the coming of age celebration we all know and love, this episode represents growth, transformation, and the journey we've been on together.
Yes, we're talking about why it's so crucial to pause, honor, and celebrate ourselves. This Quinceañera episode isn't just about reaching a milestone. It's about recognizing how far we've come and the importance of celebrating our culture, resilience, and spirit, even in the face of adversity. So, to start off this celebration, what does celebrating yourself look like to you right now?
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. Whenever I read our outline, I was like, it's gonna be a little tougher than I thought, because I don't know, I guess I don't actually celebrate myself. If anything, I think that I reward myself every now and then, you know? For example, I'll reward myself with sleeping 8 hours, you know, for the whole night, or having a restful morning here and there. From, you know, sometimes the week can be chaotic, so sleeping your full 8 hours or having a slow morning can be rewarding for me. At least I appreciate it. And I love icy textures, so after, you know, going consecutively to the gym, or after an exam, I'll get myself a smoothie or ice cream, because I just love it. So it's like a little reward of yes, this is what I was working for, I guess. Or your hard work has a reward. Is if I've been putting the OT or the overtime at work, I like to splurge a little here and there on
Yes.
Or try to not feel guilty if I spend money on clothes or if on experiences, you know, things like that. What about you?
Well, right now, 2024 has been such a wild ride. Starting this podcast, starting a new role at work, getting my heart broken, healing from that, and then moving to a new place, which, yes, it's a new place. So it's hard not to be on autopilot, right?
Yeah.
To stop and think and celebrate. But for the past 2 years, I feel like I've been trying to do little things that I was not able to do before for myself, like going on a shopping spree, like you said, you know, because growing up poor, you don't get those shopping sprees very often, maybe once a year. Getting food and dinners with friends has been a way of celebrating, I think, especially whenever something good happens. It's so easy to get food, right? To celebrate over food. And also as Latinos, we do that a lot. Like, let's go get some tacos to celebrate.
I know.
But I think it's still a work in progress. Learning how to take up space in my own life, which is very, very hard. And we'll definitely dive a little bit more into it with the other questions. But, you know, I'm trying to take some baby steps, but it's hard. It's hard to celebrate yourself.
Yeah. When was the last time you celebrated yourself?
Probably with my friend Camilo. No, actually, it's going to be today, right now, at this moment. We're celebrating our quinceañera.
Yes, you're right.
Yes.
Well, but other than that, tell me about the Camilo one.
It would be over burgers. We celebrated.
What were you celebrating?
Closing the chapter on our old apartment and moving out and going our separate ways. Yeah, because he's leaving me to go to Florida, but it's okay.
Yeah, y'all are both going on different ways, but y'all are growing also.
Exactly.
So, you know, talking about family and stuff and traditions. Growing up, what messages did you receive about self-celebration and self-worth?
Yeah, this one is a very tough one because I feel like I received very mixed messages. On one hand, my parents always encouraged hard work and doing my best, but there was also a strong emphasis on being humble. Stay humble. It's you should be proud of what you achieve, but don't make too much noise about it, right? Success was expected, but celebrating it openly, especially in front of other people, was seen as como de mal gusto, right? Like, why are you being self-centered? Yes, I could accomplish things, but I always had to keep that in check, you know, making sure that I didn't make too much noise about it. And as an adult, I feel like I learned to internalize my success, which it most definitely had an effect on how I view my self-worth. But I think one thing that really marked me as my childhood and why I think it's so hard for me to celebrate my birthday today is when I was in 3rd grade, my mom threw my very last birthday party and it went really bad.
Oh, okay.
My dad had too many beers. Yeah, it was just chaotic. And my mom swore that she was never going to throw another party again. And so that was the end of it, right? Like after that, it took me a while to like go back to celebrating my birthday. And my mom had her reasons to like never throw another birthday party because I guess, you know, it is a lot to deal with the kids, deal with the adults, deal with the adults who had too much to drink. It can be very exhausting, but it's always been a conflict for me. Like, yes, accomplish those things, but stay humble. So it's like an oxymoron.
Yeah, and like you said, that success was expected already, so failure is not even an option.
Exactly. So if it's the expectation, then is it really worth a celebration?
Yeah, exactly.
What about you?
Me identifico, you know, with that, because in my case, so as you guys, if you've watched the previous episodes, you know that I grew up in a Jehovah's Witness household. So although now my mom and like my family, they're not very strict on it, growing up with my grandma, who is the one that, you know, pretty much carried the whole thing, I obviously deeply believed in it for a very long time. And although I'm grateful for it because, you know, I was able to learn about God and stuff, those traditions are still stuck with me. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, like I would say that I still feel guilty because in Jehovah's Witnesses you can't celebrate your birthday, or they don't celebrate Christmas as well, or anything, you know, no other party. And usually is because of like what you just said, that like in parties or in party type scenarios, when there's drinking and all of that, like people make bad decisions and bad things happen. So that's why we didn't celebrate. And when we did celebrate, it would be sort of like a dinner or lunch or something, or spending time with family all together. But it had to be earned most of the time, as in, you know, if somebody from work was recognized for something, then okay, or for school having good grades and stuff. But it wasn't, like I said, even for your birthday, sometimes like we wouldn't go the day of your birthday. It would have to be before or after, because if you celebrate the day of, that's still sort of like celebrating your birthday.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
that is very strict.
Yeah.
And isn't life worth celebrating?
Exactly. There's so many moments in life that are worth celebrating, but I don't think that I grew up thinking that way.
Yes.
You know, I think, like you said, you had to be recognized, or someone else had to validate that for you to be worth celebrating.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot to put on a child. I think.
I hadn't realized that until this episode. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes, like we said earlier, there's a lot of trauma that has been uncovered in this episode.
Yes, look, literally, mira, why are my eyes getting watery? I'm fine, I promise. It's the lighting. But
do you feel a sense of responsibility to downplay your achievements to avoid appearing boastful? And why do you think that is?
The reason why I think I've downplayed my successes is because of el mal de ojo, you know, like because you don't want to attract, like you don't want people to be like, oh, this is like good things are happening to her, like you don't want to receive exactly, like why is that happening to her, and so even people thinking that way, like you're attracting those bad vibes. So something that you said earlier, that like you don't want to make, like, I guess, a fuss out of things, you don't want to get noticed too much. It was sort of like that as well, I guess, in my household, that like if you celebrate or if you get noticed like that, you can attract bad vibes and envidias, you know.
That's a very interesting take. For me, I think it was more like historically, right? The immigrant and Latinx community, there's been this idea of not drawing too much attention to yourself and blending in, assimilation, right? So because of this history of assimilation and even the fear of deportation or seeking out, it's almost like we were programmed to not celebrate, to not make that much noise, right? To not put the light on ourselves. And so I don't blame my parents. I see it as a bigger picture, right? Like, but it's almost automatic at this point that whenever I do accomplish something, my first instinct is to not tell someone or like minimize it. Like, oh no, it was like
minimize it for sure.
That big of a deal.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
other people have done it. Like, it's okay, right? And it's a hard feeling to shake. And to be honest, when researching for this episode, I was trying to see how other Latina women celebrate themselves, and it looks like we're all on that same boat of like, stay humble. And it's so sad.
I know. It's just, one thing that like I mainly heard was like, you can be at the top one day, but you can be at the bottom the next. Like, so you don't want to, just stay stuck on being on the high. But that is sad because you're taking away. We're so fast and easy to point out like what's going bad and like the bad things that we do and to pick at ourselves, but the things that we are doing well, like they're easily just swept under the rug that like as if they don't matter, but they do. Like, it's hard being a good person.
I think for a lot of us, we are defined by our failures when it should be the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's no point in just staying stuck on your failures. Like, and you know what? I'm sure that those failures taught you something and helped you grow, and like you became bigger and better because of those failures. So even though failures are worth celebrating for, you know what? Yeah. I'm gonna go get drunk. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm not drinking until today.
When you look at your journey as a first-generation Latina, what challenges have you overcome that you think deserved to be celebrated?
Honestly, I don't know why, but I take pride and I feel proud of the fact that I learned English pretty fast. And like, when I was in Mexico, I tend to be very extroverted, and in Mexico I was extroverted. I was a well-known kid. I had my friends. I always had people to chat with at lunch and everything. And then I moved here, and I didn't have any friends. And even if I wanted to make friends, like, I couldn't really communicate very well because obviously that language barrier. Yeah. And so, and I used to stick to just Latinos, and I love my Latinos. I love my community, but that kind of got me stuck. Like, I was afraid of other kids, honestly. Like, I'd be like, oh my god, I don't want them talking to me because I'm not gonna be able to respond, or I don't want to look like a fool because I can't speak the language, or because of my accent, whatever. So it was something that used to genuinely make me feel ashamed of myself that I didn't speak the language. But at the same time, it's like, what were you expecting, dude? Like, you were born in Mexico. It's not like you were gonna learn it like that. But I think that being able to connect with people again of all kinds, of all races, of all like different cultures, and like, it kind of reminds me, like, it's another reason that I think life is worth living, being able to connect with people.
I think as a child we are told to do a lot of things, right, to learn English, and no one celebrated that.
Or like they didn't celebrate like you translating for your parents and being 6 years old. Like, we're
gonna celebrate after this.
Yes, we are. We are going to celebrate after this.
I think for me, I'm still processing the first 25 years of my life. I'm 25. I think there's so much healing I'm yet to do. A big chunk of that healing for me includes recognition and celebration. Going back to the years where I had to learn English as well, right? Where I had to, do all these crazy things that a child shouldn't. Like, recognize it and celebrate it, right?
Yeah.
We went through so many challenges, and they deserve to be recognized and celebrated. One of the big ones for me would be navigating the education system as a first gen.
That's a lot. That's to know like scholarships, to know who to go to, and
exactly. It's not easy. And for me, it was just something that I had to do. I had to do this because my parents came here for a reason, for me not to be doing what I'm supposed to. And what I was supposed to do is go to college, right? So it didn't seem like something that was extraordinary. It was something that I was expected. And to be honest, yes, I blame it on COVID that my parents didn't come to my graduation, but also when I went back to Houston, I came back to like also a broken family, and they were just like, good job, very happy, but they didn't celebrate it. Or like, I don't remember it being like a big celebration whatsoever. Maybe it did happen and I'm blocking that, I don't know. But I just don't remember celebrating graduation. I do remember that my ex's mom at the time, she baked me a cake and she brought me donuts, and it was cute. It was so cute. Sweet. And that was the one moment of celebration. Oh my gosh, I love you so much, Ada, if you're watching this. But that was the one moment where I stopped and I was like, you know what? Yes, I graduated. Yay. Yeah. But then it lasted only like 1 hour, 2 hours, because my mind was already going through like, okay, but you have to pack, and then you have to go back to Houston, and then you have to like go back to your job or start your job. See, like I think we're so conditioned to keep going. Okay, what's the next thing?
Going back to autopilot.
Yes. Stopping to celebrate, like it's so hard.
Yeah.
Even when
people savor that celebration.
Yes, exactly. Like no me la saboreé para nada. It was just like done. Okay, let's go. Yeah. And so
like marked another thing off your checklist.
Exactly, and that's sad.
Yes,
it is so sad.
We're all so fucked up in the head. We don't think about celebrating ourselves. Living is hard enough. That should be a celebration. Okay, so how do you feel when you don't receive that external validation for your accomplishments, like from your family or from other people? Like, what would it look like to celebrate yourself without needing that validation from anyone else?
I think for the longest, I didn't receive external or internal validation, so it didn't make a difference, right? It didn't make a difference what type of validation I had, because I had none. But now I see that, like, whenever I don't have validation, whether it's within or from like friends or whatever, I do start questioning a little bit, like, if what I'm doing is really important. Like this podcast, like we're celebrating, but if we were not to celebrate, I think in my mind I would be like, are we even making an impact with what we're doing, you know? So it's those intrusive thoughts that sometimes happen when there's no validation whatsoever. Yeah. So whenever you don't have validation and you're an overachiever, I think overachieving becomes your norm. Creating a podcast, creating videos, creating like starting a new project, it becomes your norm. Yeah. And you start operating in this like high
functioning like
cycle, right? And you don't stop to think that, no, wait, it's not normal. This is actually like above and beyond.
Look, obviously being on autopilot has helped, you know, so many people get to where they need to be and all of that. And I hope that you guys are not thinking that we're trying to sound like, belittling, I guess, working hard for what you want and everything. But it's also good and important to stop and celebrate yourself. Like I said, sometimes like a battle for someone could be like, this is gonna sound so dark, but not ending their life. Like, you know, the fact that they're still waking up every single day and choosing to stay here and fighting against any dark monsters that may be going through in their life. Yeah, like celebrate yourself and celebrate your small and big accomplishments. Because if you think that they're worth celebrating, if they make you happy, then yes, they're worth celebrating. Honestly, for me personally, I don't think that I really have never expected external validation because of the way that I grew up. Like, from a very, very young age, like, I was taught that celebrating yourself or just celebrations in general were bad. So that's why like earning something or being good and behaving was also the normal. It was also like, no, like this is who you're supposed to be, and if you are not this good, if you're not this type of person, you automatically are gonna go to hell. So why wouldn't you be a good person, you know? So when I do receive external validation now, it feels great. It just honestly, like sometimes I even cry like a baby to like receive compliments on something that I love that I'm doing. Because it's kind of like you said, I'm like, oh, like I did good, like, or
I'm actually making a difference.
Exactly. Like, and so I don't know, it does feel beautiful whenever you do get that external validation. But I am kind of glad that I don't expect it, because I don't think I've struggled with that.
I see.
And how often do you find yourself celebrating others instead of yourself, Yessie?
I think it feels easier and maybe even more acceptable to celebrate others than to acknowledge my own achievements, which it comes from this idea that praising others is seen as selfless, you know, while focusing on yourself may be seen as self-centered. But after thinking about this, it doesn't have to be one way or the other. Celebrating others can be a reminder that I too am worthy of that same joy and recognition, you know?
Yeah.
And like lifting someone else up doesn't diminish your own worth. We can all coexist together. We can all be successful together. And I think I'm choosing better friends who are healing that part of me. And I love you guys so much, because friends who celebrate me as much as I celebrate them is something rare, something beautiful, and I really, really appreciate that so much.
You're welcome. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
What about you, Gracie?
Yeah, I also think it's much easier to celebrate others, especially because like celebrating others makes me feel less guilty.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, oh, it's easier. And yeah, like you said, I feel like I have thought of, oh my god, am I being self-centered for like celebrating myself, for I guess bragging.
But do you think it's possible to both celebrate others and celebrate yourself without feeling like one takes away from the other?
I think so, yes, absolutely. Honestly, if anything, for me personally, I feel like it takes the pressure away from like, you know, being celebrated, and it's kind of like, oh my god, I have all the attention on me. Like, oh my god, look at her though. Like, look at what she's doing. You know? Except for though, like if you're at a wedding, do not ever, for the love of God, propose on someone else's wedding day. Like,
or wear white.
Yes, no, like you don't do that. Other than that, like I love celebrating like myself and others, and like it just makes it for me a lot easier and a lot less anxious.
How often do you check in with yourself to give yourself credit for the work? Ni me dejó terminar la pregunta.
I know.
She's like, never.
Oh my god. Yeah, dude, never. Like I need to, like I was gonna ask you, I need my friends to tell me, what do I need to do to start that, to be able to, how to celebrate myself. Yes, like other than going on shopping sprees.
Yeah, I think it's one that I've been very good. Don't cry.
No, I'm not. This was from like laughing. These are happy tears.
I think I'm very good at, because I have to, at recognizing my wins at work, but in my personal life, I'm not. Because I don't feel the pressure of like keeping an Excel sheet with all like the big projects that I did, right?
Oh, I see.
So I think I need to shift my mentality a little bit more and integrate that part of my brain into my personal life, right? So one of the check-ins that I do with my manager at work is we do, what is your rose, what is your bud, and what is your thorn of the week? So your rose, something that went well, something that you're proud of, which would be a win, right? Your bud would be something that you're looking forward to, and your thorn would be something that you struggled with. And I think having those check-ins with yourself is equally as important as having those check-ins with a manager, for example. And so like it didn't click to me until like recently that until like I did the research for this episode that I need to do that more often. You know how people have those gratitude like journals, or they have this like affirmations when they first wake up.
Yeah.
Check in with yourself during that time. Now you can keep a track record of like the things that you did that are worth celebrating, and then how to actually go about that. Like, I don't know, do your nails.
Yeah.
Eat that hamburger.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be like a big, huge deal. It can be something very small and something personal. You don't have to post it on Instagram either. I know
getting an ice cream.
Yeah, I know social media can sometimes be very toxic. You feel like everybody's doing great because they're only posting their wins. But like, you can also do it on your own time. But if it helps you like stay accountable, why not post those wins on social media as well?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Something that you said that like kind of is making me think. In my planner, I put in there, like, I try to schedule when I'm going to go to the gym, right? Or when I'm going to have some type of physical movement. And if I do accomplish it, like, let's say that in that week I have 5 times or 6 times, like, I didn't miss anything. And I do the little check mark. It's like, oh, yay, I deserve my smoothie. Or I deserve that ice cream, you know, because of like what I just accomplished. Or like with my homework and stuff, it's like, yes, I'm being a good student. Like, you know, having those little check marks.
It does help 100%.
You know, when I do check in with myself though, whenever I'm going through a mental breakdown and I'm like, how many times have I gotten through other mental breakdowns that I didn't think I was gonna get through? Like, and I'm here, you know, I made it.
Yes.
So that's, unfortunately, like, it takes me to have a mental breakdown to check in with myself of everything that I have come through.
Yes.
So don't let it get to that mental breakdown.
No, do it more consciously and intentionally.
Yes.
Yeah. What steps are you taking now to give yourself permission to celebrate your own achievements? We know we both have work to do in that area, but what do you think are some things that you can do now to start that process?
I mean, those steps, I'm going to start thinking about them today, honestly. One of them is going to be like going to dinner tonight and like celebrating, getting a pasuki. Like, you know, for our 15th episode. After this episode, I think I've just become more conscious of like, okay, when is gonna be the next time that I celebrate myself and for what? You know, like I have actually, you know what? Tonight should also like something else that we should cheer for is that I'm done with one of my college classes.
Yes.
So I'm not gonna be as busy and as hectic and have that much on my plate.
Yes.
So that's something else worth celebrating for. What about you? What are you gonna do today to start implementing?
Definitely everything you said, because I'm going with her. But I think for me, I need to be better at sharing good news with friends and family and let go of that idea of being humble, because celebrating shouldn't take away from my humility.
Humility.
Right? Yes. It should not take away from that. I'm still humble. I feel like I'm still very rooted, and I am a very self-aware person. So don't be afraid, Yessie, to celebrate that person and celebrate that child within you, that child who learned English, that child who navigated that school system, that child who left at the age of 18. Like, she needs to be celebrated as much as you would celebrate your future daughters or your best friend, right? Celebrate her. So I think I need to make it a habit. And I really need to look up like rituals to do weekly or bi-weekly. There's a lot of things that people do on social media to like celebrate themselves. Really need to work on shifting my internal dialogue, because I'm worthy of celebrating where I'm at right now, even if it's not where I want to be. Like, life is worth celebrating. Being alive, you know, knowing that like today was a sunny day, that's worth celebrating. It doesn't have to be something big. So I think it also goes hand in hand with gratitude.
Well, you guys, that's it. That's our 15th episode. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for being here through this second season, you know, season 2. Stay tuned for season 3. And how are you celebrating yourself? How are you going to celebrate yourself today or tomorrow or your next accomplishment?
Tell us down below, DM us. this is also a reminder to, even though we're going to be on break for a couple of months, listen to our other episodes. Yes. They're full of great stuff. And yes, we love you so much.
Yes, also, like, tell us what other, like, content, what other topics you would like to listen us talk about and stuff. You guys will tell me, like, outside of here, but you won't tell me in the comments. I need to see it in the comments.
Get that engagement up, please.
Yes, exactly. And because that way it'll remind me, because sometimes I'll forget. Like, if you tell me
or sometimes you tell her and you don't tell me, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know. So just put it on our social media. But until next time, bye, nenas.
Bye.